Have you ever found yourself searching for something, well, something more? That deeper sense of peace, maybe purpose or healing that just seems a bit out of reach sometimes. That feeling of being truly whole. It's a pretty universal human thing, I think, whether we call it spiritual or mental or emotional. Today on the deep dive, we're really plunged into that exact topic, healing and wholeness through divine connection. And our insights today, they come from a really unique source, actually. It's a book called Healing Through the Divine, Pathways to Wholeness by Steve Zimkowski. Now, Steve, he's not your, let's say, typical author in this area. He's a multi-award-winning writer, sure, but his own spiritual journey, it spans over 50 years. And it's deeply rooted in, get this, extensive martial arts training. Yeah, his studies cover Taoism, Buddhism, Native American spirituality. He teaches Tai Chi, Qigong. He's even a Reiki master teacher. So this incredible blend, right? Eastern philosophy, energy, healing, that practical discipline. It gives such a different perspective on these pathways. Really intriguing. So our mission today is pretty clear.
We're going to unpack how we as individuals can connect with a higher power or consciousness. We'll look at these different pathways that can foster real healing and help us achieve that sense of wholeness. Expect some maybe surprising facts and definitely some practical insights for you listening in. Okay, so let's unpack this core idea first. Zimkowski's work talks about the concept of the divine as something that, transcends cultural and religious boundaries. What are we actually talking about here? Is it more than just an idea? And why is this quest, this need to understand our place, why is it so fundamental for healing?
Well, what's really insightful, I think, is Zimkowski's emphasis that the divine isn't just some abstract theological thing. He frames it very much as a lived experience, something that actively fosters healing and wholeness in our lives.
A lived experience.
Yeah. He argues that fundamentally, humans everywhere seek to understand existence, our place in it all. And this isn't really about sticking to one specific dogma, but more about recognizing this underlying interconnectedness, a kind of vital current, maybe. For Zimkowski, especially drawing from his Taoist background, it's a bit like understanding the Tao, that fundamental, you can't quite name it, flow that governs everything.
Right, the flow.
Exactly. And when we align with that flow, we find our natural state. And that alignment, that's what unlocks transformative insights, gives us a deeper appreciation for life, and really grounds us, gives us that sense of belonging. The healing then comes from dropping that illusion that we're separate.
That makes so much sense, especially, when you think about how disconnected people can feel today. And the source, it brilliantly outlines these 5 fascinating pathways, different ways to experience this connection. This is where it gets really interesting for me. How do things like nature, spiritual retreats, art, meditation, and ritual, how do they all work together to help us connect with something bigger? And how does Zimkowski's own background, the martial arts, the energy work, how does that shape his view of these paths?
It's like each pathway offers a unique lens, right?
Yeah.
But they're all pointing towards the same deep connection. Zimkowski, with his diverse training, he sees them as different ways of engaging with that same universal energy.
Okay.
So take nature. He calls it a profound portal. Its beauty, its rhythms, they can directly help align our internal energy with the external world. Makes sense.
Yeah, totally.
Then you have spiritual retreats or pilgrimages. Those offer intentional engagement. It's almost like a focused training session in martial arts, right? You create a dedicated space away from the daily noise to really hone your spiritual awareness.
A dedicated space, I like that.
And art, creativity. He calls them vital pathways for channeling emotions and insights. The act of creating itself becomes this dynamic expression of inner energy. It's a bit like performing a Tai Chi form, Focused, flowing energy.
Ah, okay, I see the connection there.
Meditation, of course, is critical for quieting the mind and fostering that awareness of the divine presence within and around us. That's absolutely fundamental in Qigong, cultivating that vital life force, the Qi.
Right.
And finally, rituals. They serve as these tangible expressions of faith and intention, almost like a formalized energetic practice. They create sacred space and reinforce our connection to the bigger picture. He really stresses how consistency and intention in these practices are key, much like the discipline needed in martial arts.
Just being outside. For so many of us, there's something incredibly powerful there. Zimkowski really taps into that feeling, calling nature a powerful source of healing and rejuvenation. But beyond just, feeling good, what makes immersing ourselves in nature so deeply transformative, especially from his perspective?
Right. If we connect this to the bigger picture, Zimkowski sees nature as, well, more than just a pretty or calming backdrop. He actually calls it an active co-creator in our healing journey.
A co-creator.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah. He explains that sure, nature is revered as a sanctuary, offering peace, clarity, balance. We all feel that. But the deeper insight, especially from his Taoist lens, is that nature is a direct reflection of the divine. Think about the intricate patterns like the fractal geometry in a leaf or the way a fern spirals as it grows. Zimkowski suggests that just observing these patterns can subtly shift our brainwaves, move us towards alpha, maybe even theta states. The one's good for deep contemplation, spiritual awakening. It fosters that sense of awe, interconnectedness, like our own internal energies are starting to harmonize with the bigger cosmic order.
Wow.
That's why mystics throughout history, whether they were Taoist sages or Native American spiritual leaders, they sought solitude in mountains, forests, rivers. It wasn't just for quiet. It was to consciously merge their energy with that divine presence they saw everywhere.
And speaking of these special places, these sacred spaces, Zimkowski also talks about physical manifestations of the divine. What's the real significance of sacred sites, and what kind of transformative experiences are people actually looking for on pilgrimages? Does it connect back to that energetic healing idea?
Exactly. These sites, they're often described as being imbued with a sense of holiness. But Zimkowski explains it isn't just metaphorical. Drawing on concepts maybe similar to his Reiki work, he suggests these places actually accumulate a powerful energetic resonance. Think about centuries of devotion, prayer, spiritual practice happening there.
Like an energetic footprint.
Sort of, yeah. And this makes them catalysts for what he terms mystical experiences that often lead to personal transformation. So people go on pilgrimages not just to see a place, but to deliberately step into an altered state, to undertake this intense internal journey that kind of mirrors their physical one, the sustained intention, that focused mindset, plus the collective energy of literally millions who've walked that path. It creates an environment that's just ripe for profound shifts. He gives some really powerful examples in the book, like the Camino de Santiago in Spain. It's this ancient route, right, for reflection, meditation, spiritual growth. And the sheer physical effort combined with those stunning landscapes, it helps strip away the ego, opens you up to deep insights.
I can imagine.
Or think of Varanasi in India. The Ganges River there, believed to cleanse spiritual impurities. It's a huge hub for rituals, meditation. Pilgrims are seeking liberation, moksha. The Hajj to Mecca, obviously fundamental in Islam. It offers these incredible experiences of worship, reflection, unity. Millions gathering with one single intention. Imagine the collective energy field there.
Yeah, incredible.
And maybe Machu Picchu in the Andes, that mystical Incan site. It inspires awe not just from the breathtaking nature, but you can feel the history, the spiritual significance kind of woven into the stones. These aren't just tourist trips. He sees them as intentional, transformative, energetic journeys.
That's a really powerful way to think about it, the collective energy,
Yeah.
the history of a place shaping the experience. But what about someone who, maybe isn't going on a huge pilgrimage, but loves to paint or write or play music? How does art and creativity fit in? How does Zimkowski see that as a vital pathway to experiencing the divine? Is there a link to that discipline focus, like in martial arts?
That's a great question and really relevant for so many of us, right? Zimkowski sees art not just as like making something pretty. It's a profound pathway of active channeling.
Active channeling.
Yeah. He explains that whether you're painting, writing, composing, dancing, whatever it is, it lets you channel emotions and insights from a deeper place, often unconscious. He sees it as a meditative practice in itself, very similar to the focus you need in Tai Chi or Qigong, where you learn to direct your internal energy, your ki.
Ah, okay.
So when an artist gets totally immersed, and then that flow state, they tap into what Zimkowski calls this universal source of divine inspiration. It's really about getting your ego out of the way, letting that energy flow through you and making something tangible. And this connection, it doesn't just enrich the artist, it often leads to works that really resonate spiritually with other people too.
And the source gives some amazing examples, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Showing how diverse this path can be.
Oh, absolutely. Think about Vincent van Gogh, those vibrant colors, the swirling forms in his later stuff like Starry Night. Zimkowski interprets those as reflecting Van Gogh's intense spiritual struggles, but also these profound moments of transcendence. He wasn't just painting the sky, he was channeling his soul's longing to connect the earthly and the divine.
You can really feel that in his work.
Totally. Or Johann Sebastian Bach. His sacred music is just imbued with spiritual significance. Zimkowski points out how Bach's complex harmonies, that deep emotion, It shows how music can be a direct pathway to the divine, something that can genuinely elevate consciousness. Then more contemporary examples like Maya Lin, her environmental installations like the Vietnam Veterans Memorial, they emphasize our connection to nature as a reflection of the divine, make spirituality accessible through interacting with the landscape.
Right, very physical.
And maybe Marina Abramović, her performance art pushes physical and mental boundaries, right? It invites people to confront the divine within themselves through these immersive, often endurance-based experiences, which definitely echoes Zimkowski's martial arts background, that idea that pushing your limits can sometimes trigger spiritual breakthroughs.
So whether it's this huge artistic statement or just a quiet moment of making something, that theme of inner quiet keeps coming up. And for those moments, meditation seems pretty foundational across all these paths. Zimkowski calls it a critical role in spiritual awakening. So what are the core benefits of meditation for healing and wholeness? And how does his background in, say, Qigong or Taoism inform that?
Well, what's interesting is how Zimkowski goes beyond just saying meditation quiets the mind. That's true, but there's more. Drawing heavily from his Qigong and Taoist practice, he explains it's really about cultivating a kind of observational detachment from your thoughts.
Observational.
Yeah, so instead of trying to force thoughts to stop, you learn to just witness them. You create the space between thoughts, you know, where the ego's noise starts to fade. And it's in that quiet space, that stillness, that we foster an awareness of the divine presence within and around us. He actually likens it to clearing stagnant qi in the body so the life force can flow freely.
Okay, that makes sense energetically.
And then beyond the mental clarity and peace, the source details really significant physical healing properties too. Regular meditation activates the parasympathetic nervous system. That helps reduce stress by lowering cortisol levels, which impacts everything.
Right, the stress hormone.
Exactly. It's shown to lower blood pressure, improve immune function, even help manage chronic pain. So it's not just emotional or spiritual. Zimkowski really emphasizes how meditation facilitates this deep, measurable healing within the body itself. It shows that holistic mind-body-spirit connection that's so central to his teaching.
Okay, so many of these practices, whether out in nature or on a retreat, they often involve rituals. But are these just, old traditions we follow? Or do they serve a deeper, maybe more active purpose for divine connection and actual healing? Maybe linking back to that energetic focus, like in Reiki.
Yeah, if we connect this to the bigger picture again, Zimkowski is quite clear that rituals are way more than just traditions. He says they're integral to human culture. They provide really crucial structure and meaning. And from his perspective, maybe informed by practices like Reiki, rituals act as these tangible expressions of faith and intention. It's almost like setting up an energetic circuit, you could say.
Setting an energetic circuit. I like that.
They create sacred space. And that's not just physical space, but energetically, psychologically too. A space where we can consciously connect with the divine. The deliberate actions, the symbols, the words used in a ritual, they all help focus the mind and elevate our consciousness. And beyond the spiritual side, Zimkowski highlights measurable effects. Participating in rituals gives you a sense of belonging, community. That's a powerful antidote to feeling isolated.
Definitely.
They offer psychological comfort, predictability, continuity. And research, as he points out, shows that regular ritual practice can actually reduce stress, boost feelings of meaning and purpose, enhance overall life satisfaction. It all supports that deep sense of well-being. Even something simple, like a daily gratitude practice, just consciously noting down blessings each morning. That's a small ritual, but it can profoundly shift your energy and your connection to the good things in life.
And beyond the practices themselves, Zimkowski's source also gets into sacred texts. What can we really learn from these ancient writings today? And how do modern interpretations keep them relevant for someone on a spiritual journey now, especially if they're seeking healing?
Zimkowski really emphasizes that these texts, they're like foundational pillars of beliefs for millions, maybe billions of people. They offer this deep wisdom and insights that can guide us toward healing and wholeness. He's not really pushing for literal dogmatic adherence, but more about extracting the universal truths within them.
Finding the core message.
Exactly. So for instance, the Bhagavad Gita, it doesn't just talk philosophy. It emphasizes selfless action, karma yoga, and meditation as paths to inner peace, clarity, that's directly applicable to managing modern stress, finding purpose, or the Tao Te Ching. It offers this timeless wisdom about living in harmony with nature, with the universe. It guides us to live with less resistance, more flow. That's a profound source of emotional healing right there.
Yeah.
The Bible, especially the New Testament, you find these powerful narratives of healing, redemption, divine love. They offer comfort, a framework for compassion, forgiveness, and then the writings of mystics like Rumi or St. John of the Cross. They explore the absolute depths of spiritual longing, that ecstatic union with God. They give incredible insights into our innate drive for connection. The key thing, he stresses, is how modern interpretations bridge ancient wisdom with contemporary spiritual practices. Zimkowski encourages us to engage with these texts not like dusty historical documents, but as living guides, find their practical application in mindfulness, ethical living, self-reflection, basically integrate that ancient spiritual technology into our modern lives to help with personal transformation.
This all sounds so deeply personal, so spiritual, tapping into ancient wisdom, these powerful practices. But the source also mentions the science of spiritual experiences. How does cutting-edge science actually support or, validate these pathways to healing? What's happening inside us, in our brains and bodies?
Yeah, this is where it gets really fascinating. Because research is increasingly providing actual empirical backing for what spiritual traditions have known for ages. Science is confirming that spiritual practices can lead to improved physical and mental health outcomes. And we're talking measurable stuff.
Like what?
Like reductions in stress and anxiety levels, enhanced emotional well-being, even improvements in immune function. It's not just people saying they feel better, there are biological markers. And neurobiology gives us even deeper insights. It shows how specific brain areas actually activate or change their activity during spiritual experiences. For example, there's often increased activity and better connectivity in the temporal lobes areas linked to perception, memory, and the prefrontal cortex, which handles higher level stuff like self-awareness, decision-making. These areas become more interconnected during deep meditation or prayer. It suggests the brain isn't just passively experiencing something, it's actively integrating these states of unity, of expanded awareness.
Wow, so it's changing how the brain works together.
Exactly. And furthermore, the release of key neurotransmitters, things like serotonin, which we link to well-being, calm, contentment, and dopamine, linked to reward, motivation, pleasure. Their release contributes to that deeply satisfying, sometimes even transcendent feeling people describe. So science provides this kind of validation of the profound effects these connections have. Physiologically, it shows these spiritual states are real, and they're beneficial for our brains and bodies.
Wow, what a truly profound deep dive this has been today. Exploring Steve Zimkowski's really unique perspective on healing and wholeness. We've journeyed through this multifaceted nature of divine connection, haven't we? Understanding how it can be achieved through such diverse pathways, like immersing ourselves in the fractal beauty of nature or embarking on those transformative, energetic pilgrimages, engaging in creative expression through art, cultivating that inner stillness with meditation, finding deep meaning in ritual and sacred texts. It's so clear that these paths are deeply personal, yeah? Often mystical, and, as we just heard, even remarkably supported by scientific inquiry now, confirming that tangible impact on our minds or bodies. And this journey to wholeness, as Zimkowski really illustrates so well, it's not like a destination you just arrive at, is it? It's more of a continuous unfolding, a kind of mindful practice of living. So as you reflect on what we've talked about today, maybe consider how even a tiny, intentional shift in your daily routine could make a difference. Maybe it's consciously noticing the intricate patterns of sunlight through leaves on your walk, or taking just a few focused breaths with that intention of cultivating inner ki, like in Qigong. Or maybe just allowing yourself a moment of creative expression, sketching something, humming a tune. Could that become your next profound connection to the divine? This journey, it isn't only about the grand gestures, the epic pilgrimages. It's really about recognizing and honoring the sacred in every single moment, transforming the everyday into something meaningful. So we really encourage you to reflect on which pathway resonated most with you today. Consider how you might explore it a bit further in your own life. Perhaps picking up Steve Zimkowski's book, Healing Through the Divine, could be a great starting point. Thank you so much for joining us on this deep dive.